I always think that video is muted. Anyways, guys, welcome back. We are revisiting all the Mission Impossibles leading up to Dead Reckoning Part 1. And today, we're doing the chore of revisiting Mission Impossible 2. Now, this movie was directed by John Woo. It came out in the year 2000, which, you know, I've got my notes right here. And that is my first note, is that this is a very pre-9/11 movie, in that it starts with a plane hijacking and a plane being crashed into the side of a mountain. And I was like, well, there's no way this came out in 2001. It came out in 2000, so you know that would just never happen. You know, there's like been plane crashes like in movies, you know, I'm trying to think, honestly. Plane just came out, but that plane didn't crash. It just like had an emergency landing. But like since 9/11, you just can't really do that anymore. But this is always the movie that everyone points to as being like the weak link of the Mission Impossible franchise, because I feel like anyone can point to any of the other 5 movies, 1, 3, Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, and Fallout, as like, oh, this is my favorite. And you know what? There's a pretty good reason for that. There's not a lot of good reasons for this to be your favorite. And you know, when you don't revisit a movie for a while, you're like, oh, you know, was it really that bad? You start putting the rose-colored glasses on, and I'm here to tell you, it's not that bad, but it's definitely not good. Now, I wrote a bunch of notes down, and the thing is that this movie is so much style over substance, and I don't know why John Woo never translated his absolute genius and high, like, kinetic filmmaking that he had into American cinema. Like, all of his Hong Kong movies are just like insane. They're insane, and they're so cool, and they're so fun and vibrant, and just have so much life in them. And yeah, you know, Face Off is there, and that's like a big swing, but it's just like, this movie just feels so lifeless. It feels like, really, with all the other Mission Impossibles that we've seen, like even in the first one, if you're just comparing it to the first one, because, you know, looking at it, you know, with Christopher McQuarrie eyes, or, you know, Brad Bird eyes, where like the stunts are like the big thing. One, you know, there's a pretty good rock, like, free climbing scene in this, and obviously he's got like wires on him, but it still looks great. It's still like, you know, Tom Cruise being Tom Cruise. But other than that, and other than, you know, like the end of the movie, which, you know, has an amazing bad guy lair, a full island full of bad dudes. I love it. And it's a decent car chase, some cool slow-mo, some decent hand-to-hand stuff, but, you know, nothing to write home about. But other than that, everything in between is really boring, y'all. It's just boring. Like, the movie's, I mean, I guess the opening scene is somewhat exciting with the plane crash, but it's not like an action scene. It's just like a terrorist, like, take over a plane and they crash it. And then after that, he meets Tandy Newton. They have like a very GoldenEye-esque like car chase thing. Like, GoldenEye is like my favorite Bond movie, and so just like, it was very, like, you know, they're driving down a winding road, they're flirting with each other. He wants to hire her for her like thief skills because she's a thief. And I guess that you can count that as an action scene, but it's not. It's really not. I know Tandy Newton has come out and said that like her time on the set was not great. Tom Cruise is very intense, and I completely support that. She does kill it in this movie. Like, the moment she appears on screen, she is giving so much, and it radiates. She is radiant in this movie, and I'm so sorry that this experience for her wasn't good, because I'd love to see her back in the franchise, because like I've said before, Maggie Q, Paula Patton, all of the women in the Mission Impossible franchise kick ass, and I'm really sorry that this was not a good experience for her. Hey, kitty cat. What else do I have in my notes? Like, it's just, I have Dougray Scott. This is the famous movie that went too long, and he is no longer a Wolverine. And that is insane to think about, because I do like his performance is like, handlebar, twisty mustache, evil villain like role playing here. But there's a moment where, you know, he finds out that Thandie Newton has betrayed him, and I'll get to all the masks. And there's some really good just like intensity in his eyes, and I could see like that moment. I could see why. Like if you guys like YouTube this, like it's just like Thandie Newton betrays or Mission Impossible 2 mask reveal or whatever you want to call it. There's some good acting going on with Dougray Scott. And you know what? In it, I want to travel to the multiverse, and I want to see his Wolverine. I really would. Now, is Hugh Jackman the most perfect casting, and we got amazing performances out of him, and we're getting one more in Deadpool? Yes, I wouldn't change that for the world. But I would put on a Spider-Verse, wristband and travel the multiverse and sit down in theater and watch Dougray Scott Logan. I would want to watch that for sure. The John Woo-isms, like, there is a lot of slow-mo in this movie, and some of it is sexy, some of it is cool, a lot of it is just unnecessary. Now, this movie is 2000s to its core, all the way up until Limp Bizkit, and I will say, the theme song still rips. That theme song with Limp Bizkit still rips, with the guitar Mission Impossible riff, it's still great. But it's so weird. Like, I was watching the credits. I'm just skipping to the end. I'm watching the credits, and I was like, it's got like the normal, like almost like, I don't know if they ran out of money at the end for the actual theme, but it sounded so bad. And then the Metallica song kicked in, and I had forgotten about the Metallica song. I was like, wow, you didn't even play the Limp Bizkit song at the end. It was such a strange choice. It's such a strange choice. And speaking of Logan, last time I'll mention Wolverine, is that Dougray Scott was supposed to be Wolverine, and Richard Roxburgh, who's like his right-hand main thug man, is in this movie as Hugh, and then Richard Roxburgh plays Dracula in Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman, so he got to be in 2 movies with 2 different Wolverines, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, all of the Dominic Purcell's in this movie, I missed that. I had no idea. That's so crazy. I'm not gonna go watch this movie again, but I'm really curious as to who he is. Is there a picture on IMDb? No, of course not. Yeah, that'd be insane. I don't know, man. Like, I took a bunch of notes. Like there's a part that's always frustrated me, and it's frustrated me since I was 12 when this movie came out. The movie came out in 2000. I was 12 when I watched it. He is going to destroy this virus, and that's the thing. It's so poorly explained. It's so poorly done. Like the plot is nonsense, and I'm okay with a MacGuffin plot because that's every single, the knock list, the rabbit's foot, whatever, the other list in, Ghost Protocol or whatever they're after. But I do like that, because like in Ghost Protocol, there's really no villain, but we're getting to the best villain in Mission Impossible 3, and I'm really excited to watch Philip Seymour Hoffman. But I do love when a villain knows the protagonist's every move, and they do that kind of narration with it, and I did like that. But I don't like when there's so much slow-mo, when he's in the lab and he's got to destroy these 3 virus containers, and then the problem's solved, because the guys are going after this virus, which, again, crazy, like, first you have 9/11 imagery, and then you have, like, oh, we're going to create a pandemic. It's like, oh, well, geez, I wonder what that's like. But then Tom Cruise, they're all, like, in these little injection guns, and he's, like, slowly, like, Chaka. And then, like, he's about to do the 3rd one, and he thinks, like, of this non-consequential moment with this doctor that we never see them interact with. We have no idea what their relationship is. And then, of course, he gets interrupted. And also, it's like, I'm okay with tension building, but, like, the first movie with, the sweat drop and everything, that's how you do it. This is not how you do it. This is just frustrating. I'm like, dude, there's nothing stopping you. Like, if there was like this security time where we had to like, you know, wait for like the camera to pan away and then he comes back, then yeah, that makes sense. But he's just like taking his time, and it's like borderline horror final girl frustration where you're like, oh my god, get out of the house. It's like that. It's not like good tension. Oh, I had another thought. Oh, the masks. They do the mask, and I feel like Ghost Protocol did this on purpose, where the masks don't work, and just like, because there are count them, 4 mask reveals in this movie, and I will say there is one that really works. There is one that maybe I'll give it 2. There's 2 where Dougray Scott is wearing a Tom Cruise mask, and Tandy Newton's like, oh, I missed you so much, Ethan. And that's where like you get the good Dougray Scott acting. And so I'll keep that one in because you get that acting moment. But the other 2 are so bad. But the last one is really good. And I wish they hadn't had the other ones in there because it is such a good reveal. But you see it coming because of all the other mask reveals. You see Tom Cruise get into a fight with Richard Roxburgh, his main henchman. And then he like throws a grenade and explodes. Smoke comes out. And then they're like, oh, what happened? And then Richard Roxburgh comes in with like Tom Cruise, like duct tape over his mouth, beaten up. And Dougray Scott kills Tom Cruise, like, yeah, we got you, Ethan Hunt, you're dead. And then he realizes it's Richard Roxburgh in a Tom Cruise mask, and Tom Cruise gets away with the virus. It's like, that's a great moment, but you ruined it because you had all the other mask moments in there. And it's a real big shame, because it is in a vacuum, it's a great reveal. It's a great reveal. And it goes into the best action in the movie. The car chase. The fight on the beach with them is okay. It's not great. It's so weird that like the poster for this movie has him with like a big scar on his face when that happens like in the last 2 minutes of the movie. But good motorcycle chase, good car chase. It's weird, like all the bad guys are like in these like really cheap cars. Like it's not, I don't know if they ran out of money for henchman vehicles, but it definitely seemed like it. You know, but overall, there are solid moments in this one, but it's definitely the weakest. Like it's not even close that it is by far the weakest. Any other ranking you want to have, favorites, filmmaking, I get it. I understand there's the defense and a case to be made for all of them, except for this one. This is last with a bullet, and that is unfortunate because John Woo and everybody else involved is great, but unfortunately this movie just did not come together in the way they wanted to, in the way I wanted it to. It was fine revisiting. It's a bit of a slog in the middle, but the action at the end is good. It's not great, though. It's not worth sitting through this, what is it, 2 hours? Yeah, 2 hours, 3 minutes. If this was a, hour 45, it'd be better just because it's shorter. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Next up is Mission Impossible 3. Have a good night.